We are live. Hello, everybody. Here, this is Kim McMahon. I am the head of advocacy and community at the FreeBSD Foundation. And for FreeBSD Day, this is our second live stream of the day. And we wanted to do something a little different and invite people on to come talk about their experience in working with FreeBSD. And I am very excited to have Mitchell joining me for this 9 a.m. Pacific time hour. Mitchell, why don't you do a short little introduction? Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So yes, my name is Mitchell. I'm a FreeBSD source committer and a contractor with the FreeBSD Foundation. So um, I I work on FreeBSD like in a professional capacity, and um, I've learned a lot through doing that. I'm Canadian. I live on the east coast of Canada, and
You just mentioned to me that it's blazing hot today.
it is blazing hot,
Blazing
yes.
hot. So what's blazing hot to somebody in the East Coast of Canada?
It's 30 degrees but 40 with the humidex, and that's Celsius.
Are you kidding? That is blazing hot. That's kind
Yeah,
of crazy. I didn't know it got that hot there in Halifax. So
yeah,
interesting. Actually interesting and scary. But anyway, yeah. So hopefully your air conditioning is working. I was talking to somebody a little earlier in Canada, and they went into the office because the air conditioning in their house wasn't working. And I was like, huh, I just didn't even know you needed it, but I guess you do, right?
it's true. Um, yeah,
Well, so when I got introduced to you, I learned that you were an intern for a while. So you one of your first projects was as an intern with the foundation. So how did and now that you're actually working on a project, but do you want to talk a little bit about that path? Because we love interns. We love getting the younger developers started in on the project. So you want to share a little bit about your intern experience and how you got to be a contractor?
definitely. Um, yes, so when I was in university, we had like a co-op program at University of Waterloo,
Hmm.
and uh, I was interested in. Oh, I just dropped something on the floor. Um,
Hopefully
um,
it's not a baby or a puppy.
No, it was a bagel with peanut butter all over the carpet.
Oh, even worse. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Um,
Talk to me about. So you're an intern at University of Waterloo.
yes. So we would do these 4-month internships. We did a couple of them, and I was interested in getting into like open source work and like kind of Linux like operating systems. And then I came across the posting for the FreeBSD Foundation, which was, locally located. And so for 4 months, I got to work under Ed Mast and go into the office and just try to, learn this project and kind of go wherever my interest was. So it was really like it was a really great experience because it gave me a lot of freedom to kind of explore it and pursue my interest. And um, you know that came to an end, and I had to continue with schooling, but I continued to be interested in being part of FreeBSD because I came out of that kind of seeing like, wow, this is a really excellent technology and a really excellent project full of like passionate people, and it's not completely dominated, by industry. So like there's room for someone just starting out to kind of like find their footing and have an impact. So, I knew that I wanted to kind of pursue that more, and through the rest of my degree, I started to, contribute to just small stuff and uh, but like on a volunteer basis. Um, and then post graduation, I was able to kind of make this leap into working on it, full time, part time, and making that my living. And it's been really challenging, but also like rewarding. It's you know, I I enjoy the freedom of it, the way that it allows me to work, the flexibility, and yet, you're siloed a lot. You're kind of on your own, like digging into something and
Mm.
reaching out to people from all over the world that only over email. Like it's a very different kind of mode of operation than working in an office, right? Which is, some of my other internships were like that.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, good. Yeah, and you got to go in the office and see Ed. Um, Now, when you were an intern, were you doing the RISC-V project as an intern? Is that
No,
no?
no, when I was an intern, um, like it was a lot smaller stuff. Um, the, because you got to get used to just like the process of submitting patches and doing review. And the kind of big thing that I got to work on at that time was the like prototype for the syscaller
Okay.
interface, which is uh, it's useful for kernel testing and fuzzing, which was a rewarding thing to learn about and be a part of, even though like what I had by the end wasn't the final product, but someone else was able to kind of take that. But yes,
Yeah,
the
'cause
the
we were
work,
we were talking about RISC-V a little bit before we joined the call. I worked on the RISC-V project at the foundation, and so when I heard you did a project for RISC-V with FreeBSD, of course my little ears perked up because I love
Mhm.
that job. Can you give me just like a couple paragraph or a paragraph of what the RISC-V project is with FreeBSD? I'm curious. I'm sure our audience is curious. I might
Yeah.
be curious. I probably know. I do know, but I'm sure our audience is curious.
Um, so RISC-V is a new CPU architecture. So
It's an open source, yeah, instruction set architecture. Yeah.
yeah. So um, the project from the point of view of a operating system like FreeBSD is to, take the software that we have that works, the kernel and all the programs that run on top of it, and make them work on this new instruction set architecture. So there's many pieces that go into doing that, and I didn't do the initial porting work, but I kind of came to it like a couple years after uh, that initial work had been done, and so FreeBSD said, "Oh, well, we have some support to run on this new instruction set, but it's mainly like in the simulator, and it's still in like it's still in its infancy in certain ways." So I came to that project as like a way to learn kind of some of the kind of to learn how the system works, right? Because
Mhm.
you work on some really low level things there, and yet you you're the work has been done before in a different way, right? You always have these kind of examples of like, okay, so this is how it was done on x86, this is how it was done on ARM. We're trying to do the same thing here, but it's adapted to, this new architecture that maybe has some things the same, some things slightly different. So for me, the the project and the goal was just to, okay, let's improve the support for this platform and see what I can learn about the system that way. Because you're solving you're solving old problems, but in a new way. And so
Yeah.
it was a really great teaching tool for me in that respect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. On the previous live stream, it was with Ed, and he was talking about one of the projects he was excited about that he had done, that he worked on in the past was the ARM architecture. And now we're talking again about some more FreeBSD development work with another instruction set architecture. So yeah, that's exciting. That's really exciting. But I think you were telling me when we were chatting, you've been doing this project for a while. So I think you have your sights on working on something new, or what are you excited about? What do you want to do next?
Um, Within FreeBSD, I'm interested, I guess, in kind of I'm interested in the processes of like um, how do we make development uh, easier for people, and how do we get rid of things that cause us headaches? I've, s- I'm going to start vague and then get
Yeah.
specific, I guess,
Okay. Okay.
um, or start broad. Like I've seen, in my time involved in this project, I've seen it kind of. There's been a lot of effort in shedding things that are no longer useful and that present a big maintenance burden, which I think is like really important to keep forward looking because you can't bring everything with you. You can't support everything forever. It is taxing on the people involved. So one area that I see that same thing needing to be applied is with our documentation. We have kind of a large set of documentation. Some of it's like really pristine, up to date, and like useful, and then some of it has like aged a lot, and you know, and having that kind of it's the same thing. It's like you're bringing it forward with you at every step, and
Mhm.
it presents like new problems or new maintenance requirements. So it's weird to say that I'm excited about documentation, but I am interested in improving that aspect because it I think is like for me it was an essential part of how I was able to get into this project, right? Like I read as many things as I could that about the system, right? And it taught me a lot, but then the things which you read things that are obviously outdated and it either you're like, oh, that was a waste of time, or it gives you the wrong conclusion because it tells you something that's no longer true.
Yeah, and yeah, music to my ears. Like coming from the marketing and community side, the advocacy and community side, how, is it easy enough for people to get started? Is the documentation good? Is the path for how you can get started and be successful with the project doesn't make sense? So, I don't know. I might be reaching out to you for a future project there when you get done with your development work on RISC-V. But yeah, I would love. So me personally, I don't know if it's easy or not right now. But I always want to make it the community so welcoming and make sure that we are showing our care to the community through making it easy for them to use the software. So I love that. So there's your pitch, huh? We
A
got a
little bit,
future
yeah. Like
documentarian.
there, there's, yeah, I think there's a lot of like secret knowledge in a software project like this with such long history and kind of deep technical complexity. And that's something that's not, you can't avoid that
Yeah.
exactly, but like there are ways to um, make it less obtuse.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I might be putting you on the spot, and if I am, I apologize. But when I think about our users, like I want to try to give something back to the people listening or the people watching the recording post live stream here. Um, when you were getting started, what were some of your go-to either websites or books that really helped when you were first getting started with FreeBSD? What would you recommend to a new user?
Um, I mean, I'll preface it by saying that like the way that I got involved and am involved is not typical, right? Like if you're talking about new users who aren't coming at it from a development standpoint. Um, but the handbook is number one. That's like that is a piece of documentation that is really well maintained and covers a lot of aspects. The the physical book, Absolute FreeBSD by Michael W. Lucas, is feels almost like an expanded version of the handbook where it covers like piece by piece different aspects of using the system, kind of from a administrator's point of view. And if you're coming at it from a developer standpoint, you want to learn, the FreeBSD kernel, then you got to read the design and implementation book, and you got to read the source code. Like no there's no short way around it.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Well, I wrote those down. I'm going to make sure those resources are front and center.
Yeah.
Um, People are able to find them on the FreeBSD Foundation website. So, um, excellent. Anything else that you want to say to our audience on our FreeBSD Day?
Um, I had something that is slipping my mind for a sec. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure. I guess just touching on the RISC-V thing again, like you kind of said you know, when the development work is done, it is done with that. Like it's one of those things where the development work doesn't really stop. It kind of
Yeah.
continues on. So, um, I, I guess it is a thought that if you're someone out there who's interested in systems programming, like that is an area that support for RISC-V hardware, um, is going to continue to evolve. So
Great. So if so, yeah,
more hands will be needed there, I guess.
yeah. And I think there's always like an initial development, and then there's always maintenance and improvements you can make. So if somebody wanted to get involved with the RISC-V work that FreeBSD is doing, I suppose there's a mail list or a working group they can join.
There is a mailing list and there's a wiki page on the FreeBSD wiki that is like it's I updated it recently. It's pretty good. It's a good place to start. Um,
Okay.
you still gotta kind of go through and make mistakes yourself to kind of get it to work, but like that's part of the process. If you find that fun, then you'll be willing to stick through it.
Yeah, I think a lot of us kind of like working through something and maybe doing a stumble and coming back and improving. So I
Yeah.
I personally find that fun, at least in my area. Okay, so to get started, with the FreeBSD and RISC-V work, we'll go ahead and add to this video the links to that mail list and wiki page.
Mhm.
Um, any last comments you have for our audience today?
Um, no, I hope you
Okay.
all
Nope.
enjoy.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for joining me on on doing our live streams and on this FreeBSD day. And we definitely hope to be doing more and have you come back. And when you have a new project that you're working on with FreeBSD, would love to have another conversation with you and hear about it. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, everybody have a great day.